All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Obvious Podcast, episode number 62. I'm Sonny Macon.
And I'm Peter Dyga, President and CEO at ABC Florida East Coast Chapter.
So, Peter, you got to say that part.
Love the show part, or you're listening
Love
to
the show part.
you're listening to the Obvious Podcast, where all opinions are expressed are our own, unless we say otherwise. And if you love the show, we ask you to subscribe on any major podcast platform or watch us in action on YouTube. Follow the Obvious Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, X, Truth Social. All the links you need are in the show notes. And reach out to us anytime at theobvious@abceastflorida.com. If you're enjoying the ride, help others find us by leaving a review wherever you listen.
You would think that was episode 2 and not 62.
I know it. So, we're struggling with what we feel like we need to repeat week after week after week.
I know. Anyway, I doubt somebody's going to start listening to us on episode 62, but you never know, right?
Hopefully, new people are finding us new every week.
Absolutely. So, I'm actually kind of impressed by how the numbers have just skyrocketed in the last few weeks.
It's awesome.
Yep.
It's been fun, and any event. We're enjoying it, and we're glad you are too, our listeners and viewers. So what non-controversial topic are we talking about this week?
Today, and I really hope you stay with us because this will be interesting. We're going to talk about the filibuster, right?
Okay.
Because as you know, the government is shut down. Have you, by the way, felt like a big impact of that? The government being shut down?
What?
What
shutdown? I mean, and I don't mean to belittle, I'm sure there's, I don't know, if you're not getting your paycheck.
Yeah.
Of
course, yeah.
Although it's weird because it's like the federal judges keep pumping out rulings and injunctions against the president. I'm like, aren't you like furloughed?
Right.
I mean, are they getting checks? Yeah. And the other thing I found very interesting is recently we had a federal judge say that the government's got to use some kind of discretionary fund somewhere to pay for the SNAP benefits. And I'm like, well, if there's discretionary funds somewhere, why don't we just use them to run the government until they pass I don't understand it. It's insane. So the whole thing's insane.
This is the part I don't understand.
And never mind 14 votes at Biden era levels for a clean continuing resolution that we can't get 5 Democrats to support. Anyway.
So this is the part I don't understand.
I don't have an opinion about any of this.
That's why people watch the show, because we are just not opinionated. So I keep hearing, and I heard Mark Wayne Mullins from Oklahoma make a comment, and it was just he was talking about essential government workers, and it just made me wonder, like, why do we have non-essential government workers?
Right.
What purpose are they serving if it's not essential?
Right. Yeah.
They're like, well, this is for these essential employees and for the essential functions of the government. Well, shouldn't that be all they do?
Right.
And I do want to talk about your point about the. I was listening to the Secretary of Agriculture, the lady, Brooke something. Brooke Rollins.
I don't know. You stumped me on that one.
Yeah, Brooke Rollins.
Secretary of Agriculture.
I can't believe that came to me. Yesterday, I confused my dog for my daughter.
Oh boy! Hopefully not in front of the human species. Okay. I mean, the dog probably wouldn't have minded so much, but
and the dog looked confused. What are you saying to me? Anyway, but I remember
a lot of people out there going, "Oh, that figures,"
But I remembered Brooke Rollins' name, which is so strange. She made the point that the money, the backup money or whatever they have sitting in their accounts.
This mystery money that apparently judges know about.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how this federal judge knows about this money, but
that only covers like a month or not even a month of food stamps.
Oh, okay.
Like that's it. It wouldn't even cover a month of it.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, and I found this out from Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture, $9.5 billion a month goes out in food.
Isn't it funny though that the judges or the lawsuits, didn't actually force the government to fund the military's pay out of that discretionary fund? No, it's the SNAP people. Actually, this president I think went out and got a private donor to actually fund the military pay for a month or something.
It was for a very short amount of time though. It wasn't for a long time.
Well, it
was $180 million. I mean, it's a big military.
First off, I'm not sure, but I had heard at one time that most federal employees are paid monthly. They only get once a month. Maybe that's not true for all of them, but I think for the vast majority of them, they're paid monthly.
Okay.
I think that's true also for a lot of state employees in the state of Florida. I don't know. Federal government just tries to limit their expenses when they have payrolls of that size by only having to
Just doing
process
it
it
once a month. Okay.
once a month. So, so really, yeah, this challenge is like 1 month at a time. It's like, right, can we find another month of funding or another 2 weeks of funding? So, but anyway, it totally frustrates me that I don't know. I mean, can't the judges go home? You're not being paid. Why don't you be furloughed? I don't think you're quite essential.
Yeah, how are they essential?
You can figure out the court cases when we figure this out, So, but somehow they keep working. They are aware of some secret fund somewhere that our government has that apparently is important to fund SNAP benefits, but not our military, not our air traffic controllers, not our policemen or National Guard or, I don't know. And nothing else rose to the level of having to dip into our secret stash under the mattress, federal government mattress, except for SNAP benefits.
By the way, did you know the number of people on SNAP has doubled in the last 5 years?
Oh boy, was that like really?
That's a staggering statistic.
I don't think if something positive comes out of this, it might be that people realize there's something wrong when 42 million, or what's the number, 42?
42 million, yeah.
People are on, food stamps in essence. That's, I don't know. It's not sustainable, I don't think, as a country.
Especially if you're like able, obviously if you're handicapped or, you're disabled or, you're physically unable to work, like obviously, we understand. And,
Correct.
And if
that's why
we understand that makes sense, right? But
that's why I think we've talked about this in previous podcasts. That's why I and others are not libertarians. We're Republicans. There are legitimate roles for government. That's why we're not libertarians who think there's like literally no legitimate role for government. We believe in a safety net. But when it gets to 42 million people, it's not a safety net anymore. Part of the big controversial parts of the big, beautiful bill that was passed was it didn't even require
you could volunteer.
Work requirement.
Yeah,
you could volunteer. I think you just had to show proof of applying.
20 hours
You could
a
put
week.
no effort into the application. You could not return any calls if they called you for a job. But if you could prove you put applications in, you could keep getting your benefits. It wasn't like it was, a staggering requirement or something. And yet that was controversial.
I remember Bill Clinton, I'm sure you remember, we were young back then, when he passed the welfare reform bill, right? I don't remember.
Boy, have Democrats changed.
Yeah.
Boy, we thought he was loony.
Oh, my gosh.
He was fighting for, work requirements.
Work
That's right.
requirements.
He was the first. That was the first time they did it.
Yeah.
So.
And he took it worked. Like a ton of people came off of welfare. The number of people that are in the job market went up under that president.
Don't you think this is one of the core, among many, things that differentiate the parties? From my perspective, compassion isn't measured by the fact that we have 42 million. It should really be measured by how few people need it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just think the left sees compassion of, we would be a more compassionate country if 10 years from now we had 82 million people on SNAP benefits. I would say we're, a more compassionate country if we're finding jobs for people to be self-sufficient and provide for their own needs and minimizing the need for SNAP.
New mayor of
It's there for people that need it. But
the new mayor of New York wouldn't care if everybody was on it.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
He'd prefer it like that. All right, so let's talk about filibuster, right? We hear all the time.
Oh, this session wasn't about.
No, this was not about SNAP.
It's about the filibuster. Okay.
We wanted to, because we got a lot of feedback on our episode on gerrymandering. People were like, I didn't know what that was, and thanks for the history lesson and all that good stuff. So we wanted to educate and enlighten and entertain on the filibuster, what it is, where it
Dude,
came
I should have prepared better.
Yeah, well, don't worry, that's why you have me.
All right.
So we're going to play for you a video, and I found this video super interesting because it's 4 years old from a Georgetown law professor.
Okay.
All right. Obviously, I went to Georgetown, loved my time there, but it has gone like crazy left since I graduated. It has nothing to do with me, but in the years since I graduated, it has gone
More left. I would argue it's probably
It's gone
was
way
leaning
more
left even then. So unfortunately.
This is a Georgetown law professor giving it's a quick video, giving a little bit on the history of the filibuster, but she talks about it in the context of her present time, which was 4 years ago. So just kind of
Okay.
watch for her
Okay.
her interpretation of what, like,
By the way, there's some, for people, we'll get into exactly what a filibuster is and maybe a little bit of its history from the top of my recollection, which is why I wish I had prepared a little better. Maybe you have. Because this is a good example of an item. People oftentimes ask you, how amenable you are to new ideas in life, right? And I would say this is a great example for me of something. We've talked in different previous episodes about politics in the country and the establishment Republican and how, we all might have supported the old Bush wing of the party and how we've
Dick
evolved.
Cheney died this week. Let's, God bless his soul. But man, that guy, anyway, it's not.
So
That's a different side.
So here's another example for me. I mean, I think probably I was one of those that, the filibuster was sacrosanct, but I've come to learn that actually the filibuster was not part of anybody's original plan. Right. It was something that was invented, I think, in the early 1800s. Is that what's partially covered? And by the way, there's only been one vote, to my recollection, to actually do away with it. You know who did that? The Democrat majority, I think, in the last.
You remember that guy's name?
Now, it didn't pass. I don't know.
They did it for specific purposes.
But
it was Harry Reid, first time.
So anyway, so it's like, this has been done already.
Yeah. So Georgetown law professor Caroline Fredrickson, 4-year-old video. So just kind of watch for the context of how she's speaking.
A lot of people ask, what is the filibuster? It's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but it really is not very well understood. It's kind of obscure in many ways because it deals with the Senate rules. What people need to understand, though, is the filibuster is actually directly relevant to so many things that they care about and has everything to do with whether the Senate actually can get things done or not. The filibuster is a term for a senator taking the floor and not giving it up, basically talking a bill to death. Well, the kind of romantic mythology of the filibuster is the Mr. Smith goes to Washington view, where some idealistic senator is trying to do something important for the nation and holds the floor for hours and talks and talks and talks to achieve a goal. Well, look, that not only does that never happen anymore, but it actually wasn't the reason that the filibuster was most used. In the 20th century, it was a tool to block civil rights laws more than anything else. In recent years, nobody actually needs to take the floor anymore because of procedural changes that were made in the Senate that allow senators to filibuster without even showing up. So in 1917, they actually adopted the cloture rule that allowed to bring to an end a filibuster. At that time, it was 2/3 of the Senate. And that pertained until 1975, when they lowered it to 60 votes. But it has become now something that is just a routine because it's so easy to object to anything that's going on in the Senate, getting leverage for other things, from making deals and whatever. Senators object all the time. That means that functionally, every single piece of legislation now that goes through the Senate requires 60 votes. People might have heard of something called the nuclear option. Well, the nuclear option is a way to blow up the cloture rule, Rule 22 of the Senate rules. It's been done already. It was actually implemented the first time in 2013 by leader Harry Reid, and then by McConnell in 2017. So now the courts and nominees generally are not subject to that filibuster rule. So now what we have is a situation where Democrats are in control of the Senate. We have a Democratic president with an agenda, a big agenda. And the question is now the time that Democrats will invoke the nuclear option to get rid of the filibuster for legislation. Historically, there have been Democrats who have supported keeping the filibuster. And primarily in the Senate, it was because of a kind of a nostalgia about the Senate itself as a place for greater deliberation, as opposed to the hasty and hot-headed House. Clearly, there are Republicans who believe that who share that vision, and certainly for more libertarian or conservative senators, the whole idea of obstruction may be a value in itself. Now, countering that, which is, I think, where a lot of the Democrats in the Senate are now, and if you look at polls on the filibuster, it's kind of one of those things that makes Americans scratch their heads and say, why do they do that this way? So, number one, the American public wants to get rid of it. Number two, there's major agenda items that cannot get through. Some of the current effort to deal with the pandemic and the economic disarray that we're in because of the pandemic can be dealt with without requiring a 60 vote majority, but much of it can't be. If it comes a time when there is legislation that's neither budgetary and thus exempt from the filibuster rules, nor so far to the left that these senators would never support it, but it's actually kind of bread and butter issues that might gain the favor of the more conservative Democrats, and it's being held up through a filibuster, will they agree to change the filibuster at that point? Stay tuned. The Senate, the nuclear option, it's always there. It's always available. It can be used at any time.
Could we get this law professor to come on the podcast? Is she a law professor?
She's a
I'd love to see it. She thinks about her 4-year-old video.
4-year-old video.
Your first clue that it was 4 years old was what she was advocating for, because you notice you won't find anybody advocating for that at the moment.
Yeah, she won't advocate for it now.
We've done so many shows about the double standard, right? It's like nothing becomes pertinent or important until it's holding up or blocking the pursuit of their political agenda. Yeah. Then all of a sudden it becomes important. So,
anyway, the Democrats go on TV and they're like, "Oh, you guys, Republicans have House, Senate, and the White House. Why is this our problem?" Well, and then they'll conveniently
here you go.
Off.
Yeah,
you need 60 votes.
Right. Which, by the way, that's only since, what did she say, 71 or 75?
75.
It was 2/3 for then, so it would have been 66 for 100 years or since 1907 or whatever. And then before 1900, anyway, this is the point that I wasn't as familiar with, when I used to think it was just part of the process, part of our heritage from the beginning. And I thought, and I always gave due deference, to the way our founding fathers set things up. Now, we've thrown a lot of it away. I mean, I still believe state legislatures ought to appoint senators rather than being elected. That was the way it was originally done, which again gave states a little more strength. We're telling you who our two senators are. The House was a more democratic process.
Yep.
I still believe that. I know that's probably scandalous, to believe that. But so much about the original system has changed. So, but when I learned that the filibuster was nothing original. It was, and again, today it's all thrown out there to protect minority rights. Come on, the whole system is about minority rights.
Yep.
I mean, you got to pass 2 chambers and get it signed by a president. If your minority rights aren't represented somewhere in that process, I don't think you need an obstructive filibuster or cloture, rule.
Yep.
It's time to do away with it, is my point. And I didn't always believe that way, but I do now. I don't know. What about you? I mean,
I think 51 votes, right? If you win, you win. That's it. This is kind of a silly barrier to put on government. And I get it. Republicans will argue, well, do you really want the Democrats?
Everybody's benefited at some point in time.
And stalk the Supreme Court and change all those rules, right? It's been about the Supreme Court and it's been about other issues. Where if you can just get it through 51. And I remember listening to Joe Manchin from West Virginia and Kristen Sinema from Arizona. Both have since left the Senate, talking about how many bad policy ideas were held off because of the filibuster rule. And you could argue that point for sure. But then will you become a system where you're just sort of passing bad legislation, then the other party comes to power, and then you go reverse it all?
Right. Well, now we have a new kink in the system, which is the
executive orders.
The judiciary. So you don't like something, you file a lawsuit in a favorable court or district, and you're probably going to get some judge. Now, hopefully, after a couple years of litigation, but it might take a couple years.
Yeah,
it'll work its way through to the Supreme Court, and hopefully, true justice will prevail. But as it stands right now, you can find a judge in some district somewhere and file a case and get whatever law that was passed, a nationwide injunction or overturned, or anyway, it's a hell of a way to run a country.
It's a hell of a way to. Well, you know what? It's the best system there is. Because Everything else was
Wouldn't want
worse.
to be. Yeah, wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
What did he say? It's a terrible system, but the best one we have, or something like that. Anyway, we wanted to share with you what a filibuster was, because I know you'll hear it a lot, what the nuclear option is, and just to give you sort of a historical understanding of where this idea comes
Just
from.
remember the shutdown was voted on, or the budget that would have avoided the shutdown was approved by the House. Has been voted on 14 times by the Senate. It's gotten a majority vote, all 14. I think
It's gotten
almost
the
14
majority
times.
Yeah.
It's gotten
But
as
it
high
has
as
60
54
votes.
or 55. I think is the highest it's got, but it hasn't got 60.
60.
And that's why the government shut down, because we can't get 5 Democrats in the U.S. Senate to support a clean, no politics, a continuing resolution, which is a funding bill for the government, which, by the way, a lot of Republicans are not happy about, because the levels of that funding are higher than they'd like to see. But they did it to keep the government running while they actually had more negotiations, with Democrats and Republicans. So, any event, maybe judges will keep finding secret stash money until a few more Democrats come around and vote for cloture, as we learned.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode and found it to be informative. Leave us a comment. Show note has all the ways you can get in touch with us. Send us an email. And we look forward to welcoming you back to a new episode next Friday.
All right. Thanks.
Take care. Ciao.